Okay, so far we created our new project, we created a new composition, we brought in some of our Photoshop layers, we dragged them down here in the timeline, we renamed them, we positioned them, we activated the 3D space here, we put in a camera layer, and now we're going to animate this camera. First thing I'm going to do, make sure I'm on frame 1 here on my timeline. I'm going to open my camera layer here, and I see there's a couple types of animations I can do, a couple groups. There's my basic transform animations and camera options. Now the camera options have things like zoom, depth of field, and a lot of other settings that are particular to camera technology. So sort of mimic actual technology from real cameras. And then we also have some of our transformation choices here. Some we can animate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure I'm on frame 1, and I'm going to set my camera where I want it to start from. Okay? Remember we positioned these layers in space, set some back further, some closer. In the previous tutorial, now I can position my camera within that space where I want it to start. And there's a couple ways I can do it. If I click here on this position slider, I can slide around and change the starting position of my camera. You can see it looks pretty realistic, pretty 3D, just by moving it around like that. So maybe I want to start with my camera position over here with a werewolf, with a Wolfman and a Dracula. I can also change the angle I'm looking at. Am I looking down at him, or is my camera going up higher? Maybe I'll start up higher with my camera. And third, oops, that's a point of interest. Didn't mean to change that. The third, I can zoom in or out. So maybe I'll start out farther away. I can also click down here and enter the actual coordinates if I want, or I can just click and scroll out. Now if I move farther away, I can see some of my monsters are getting cut off here. So I could either move them or scroll in a little bit more. So that doesn't happen. I'm going to reposition the Wolfman here a little bit. Maybe the Mummy also. So he's not being cut off. Now I can also see I backed up so far that I'm starting to lose my background. My background's not big enough to cover my screen size, so I'm going to make that background a little bigger also. There we go. Okay, so that's my starting point. I didn't have to do any changes. I could have left it where it was. I just want to show you can change the camera settings before you animate it. Now, on frame 1, I'm going to activate all my animations here by clicking on these stopwatches. I may not change all of them, but at least I have them activated, so I'm ready. I'm just going to do one general animation all the way to the end of the video, end of the movie, the 8-second mark, the 8-second video. You could do a lot of changes in between, but I'm just going to do one general motion. So right here in frame 1, you can see it when I activated those different settings. You see the keyframe mark here, these diamonds. Now I'm going to make the changes here on my final frame. And I'm just going to change the position again, so I'm sort of panning through this scene. I can change them by lowering my camera, getting a different vantage point here. And I can also zoom in. Okay, my vantage point's a little too low. Let me scroll up a little bit. There we go. And I'm going to zoom in even more. Now what will happen there, After Effects will automatically put that animation between the two settings. There you go. So it looks pretty cool. maybe back over here I'll scroll or change it a little bit more on my angle. So Dracula's in the middle. Cool. I'm gonna back up here. I think I want to make that mummy a little bit bigger, so I'm going to my mummy layer. It's looking a little too small back there. A little bigger. There we go. All right, back to the camera. Just so you know, I can also adjust those different positions up here with the blue, red, and the green arrows. Okay, that's the position. I can also change the rotation of the camera. Rotate it up, rotate it down if I want. So the other one was moving the position of the camera. This one's actually like pivoting the camera. I could pivot it like that if I want. I'm just going to pivot this way a little bit more. I can even rotate it sideways, like I'm rotating the camera sideways. I can do that. That's sort of cool too. I like that. Once again, I just got to check the edges and make sure the background and the objects aren't cut off in a weird way. Okay, now I can play that camera animation. First time it's going through pretty slow until it renders a little bit, then it'll come back through at a regular pace. There you go. So it looks pretty cool. It sort of looks cool in slow motion there too, but like I said, it'll render through once and they'll come through at a faster pace. It's pretty realistic with the fog back here, hovering. Monsters moving at separate paces. The background moving at different paces. Since it's so far away, you really start to get that sense of real space in this scene. So there you go. There's the actual time. Looks pretty good. Looks pretty cool. A lot of 3D effect already just with that camera action. And that is not adjusting any of the camera options here. I could also adjust some of these if I want. The focal depth, the depth of field, zooming. I could blur. I could animate the blur so certain areas blur. Highlight saturation, all those different lens changes I can do. I'm going to just do the zoom here on one. So instead of moving the camera in, I can zoom the camera in, zoom the lens in basically, using the lens to zoom in, not the camera position. I could also zoom out while the camera's itself is moving closer. Let's see what that looks like. So they can sort of contradict each other. All right, let me zoom out here a little more. I have to make some adjustments. So now the camera's moving closer, but the lens itself is zooming out. So then you get a really strange effect with that background really receding into space. Sort of a Alfred Hitchcock effect. All right, and then at the end I see I'm going to have to readjust some of my characters here. Actually, I'll do that through the animating of the characters themselves. I think I'll animate the background too so it fits in there by the end. So there we go.